Hello, welcome back to the Bodyguard review. We are on part 2 officially. Um, so we're picking up where I left off. Lord, give me your wisdom, your understanding. What is this that you want me to say? Put your words in my mouth for exactly what it is you need for me to say for this part. Okay, starting up at this point. So Rachel, she went to the studio and she allowed the bodyguard to be there. So she has, if you pay attention to her, and I need to speak on this because it's there. If you watch the film, you can see it. Rachel has a Jezebelic spirit on her. It's just, it is what it is. She has a tongue on her that she flatters to get what she wants from you, and she only uses you to the degree in which she can get what she desires from you. But she started to catch feelings for Frank. Some of your God-ordained spouses, I believe initially when they first started to see what God was showing them, and the Lord is giving me, he's reminding me of the movie, the Princess and the Frog, that remember, the prince in that film was manipulated by the voodoo man, and he was going to try to have Tiana kiss him so that he could turn back human, when she didn't know none of the stuff that he was up to with the voodoo man. Your God-ordained spouse, when he first came into contact with you or wisdom of you, and he saw what the Lord was showing him, he thought that he could finagle you to a degree to get what he wanted from you, which was going to get him he wouldn't lose his momentum, because you know how men are. Men, they'll sleep with one woman and then they'll start to, allure the next one. So if he sees that you're the next one, honestly, he was probably thinking, I'm going to start to see if I can kind of start the communication in this direction with this individual and set it up to see how quickly I can get this thing set up so I don't have to lose focus with this relationship before I cut that relationship. God said, slow your roll, bro. You ain't even going to have access to this one until you get that out your system. Okay? So in their vanity, they had an alluring towards you. They want to see, can I allure this individual away from what it is? I want to see if they anything like what I thought they may have potentially been. You understand what I'm saying? So it almost is like, maybe I can finagle. One, I can test them to see if they anything like what I'm used to. Because I first want to prove if they full of it or not. And some of their friends been trying to get them to talk mess about you. Trust and Obedience Ministries did a word talking about the God-ordained spouses in distress. Some of your God-ordained spouses talked a bunch of mess about you before they got into alignment with you. Some of y'all been thinking the shame was involved in the counterfeit. Some of the shame that they have is actually because of the fact that they was talking mess about you. And God said, that's my daughter. And guess what? Because you talked mess about her, I'm going to put you through some stuff too. Because she truly is anointed and she know how to pray. So guess what? Some of them prayers, they had a boomerang effect. They hit him too. They did. And he had to repent. And some of his shame was because of what he didn't realize he was rejecting. Okay? That's what some of his shame was. So getting back to Rachel has a very Jezebelic spirit on her. Okay, let's just deal with that. Some of your God-ordained spouses, as we know, they're counterfeits. They did have that. but the counterfeit operated, and I needed to address this. Sorry, love you, bud. The counterfeit operated in this very spirit, and your God ordained spouse having a good heart about him, though he still was operating in his vanity, thought that he was going to save that woman. I talked about this in the word that I did on Jacob, Hercules, and Samson. Some of them thought they were going to save that woman. No. Because until they turned their lives over to God, there was no saving this individual. And if they made the choice to, blessed be to Jesus, they were going to separate from him anyway. Because God was going to separate them from him in order to show them who they belonged with, which wasn't him, because he belonged with you, right? Next, he was going to use that opportunity to get to their hearts, okay? Next, you ain't falling for their foolery, okay? She kept trying to finagle him. She was watching the things that he was changing. She was doing. Your God ordained spouse been watching you. Go watch my word on right next door. The guy next door. Some of these men were observing you, looking at you, testing to see, is she really legit or not? So on and so forth. But and vice versa, you were checking to see if they were legit or not. Because all you can see is what the Lord allows you to see. And some of that is through their social media. Some of that is through this. Some of that is through that. But none of that ain't got nothing to do with the spiritual warfare. God had to show you that in a spiritual, personal place. And that came from being very in tune with God's ear. And that allowed you the ability to have the wisdom of prayer in order to protect them. You're literally sitting there praying to protect them from that Jezebelic person that they are so closely associated with. And in their innocence, at least in the particular way, they didn't see what God was trying to show them. God was trying to separate them. God was trying to remove. God was shifting. God was trying to maneuver. God was showing them, no, that's not the one. Sweetheart, no. That's Bathsheba. That's the Queen of Sheba. No. And in their guilt-ridden state, and some of them were operating in guiltiness, feeling they were in shame, operating in vanity, operating in their own pride or rebellion, all of this. And because of that, it was like, They couldn't see past their own shame, and guarantee you, that spirit on that counterfeit woman was showing them what you think you're going to do. Go back to my word on the counterfeit that I talked about, the manipulation and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. They made them feel like you were never going to want them, even though you're literally sitting in quiet praying for this individual to be separated from his dysfunction. So they in the studio. She trying to make music. She doing what she need to do. And then she starts asking him, why don't you take me to blah, 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 blah. Some of them are intrigued. They want to know about you. Meaning, what do you do for fun? What's fun for you? What's your interest? If you took me where you like to go, where would that be? I can tell you right now, that would probably be Panera Bread, someplace like that. It would be very simple. Not because I'm looking for a place outwardly. That's just a place I ain't been in a long time. Or am I a concert person? No, let's go take a walk in the park if you won't be in a place where ain't nobody at. Let's take a boat ride. Let's go to a place that's away from prying eyes. I'm not one. I want to do those things that when I think of things that I would do with my God ordained spouse, it would be going out to lunch together. It would be taking a walk in the park for one. The last guy I was with wouldn't do that for me. It's like I mentioned it, but it's like it wasn't an interest. Next, just going on vacation. I have not been on a legitimate vacation. I'm talking about legitimate vacation. I ain't talking about going to see family members. I ain't talking about going to Myrtle Beach. I'm talking about legitimate vacation. My dream vacation location, legitimately, I want to go to Turks and Caicos. I saw a video years ago where they had like this hotel with separate residential houses where it's like you and your spouse can just be by yourself, and then you have the ability to walk out on the beach. Dream. What else? Going to a good show. And I ain't sitting up there talking about concert. I like jazz music. I like contemporary jazz. I like instrumental. Going out on the water and just being like, I actually thank be to Jesus, am not seasick. So, I would love just going out on the yacht. I used to go on the day cruises here in the harbor when they used to have those years ago, that you could just go on the day cruise and they would take the boat, the ferry would take you out and bring you back. So when it comes down to stuff, what do you do for fun? That's me, for fun. I'm not so particularly a person. I'm not a drinker. I like to be in like quiet places. Take me someplace quiet. And even when I listen to music, I want the music quiet. I'm not particularly a concert person. Plus, there's so much spiritual stuff going on in certain concerts nowadays. And I have to have permission to go to your concert. I love you. If the Lord don't say go, I'm not going. But other than that, yeah. I remember like I could see me going to a Maze concert. I could see me going to like some of the oldies. I could see me going to a jazz festival. I could see me doing that, but not so much just going out to anybody's old concert. There are in particular people I can go to. I already know. But I ain't just going to anybody. Not everybody has the right heart posture. Not everybody has the right spirit. And I can hear it. I can hear it. Certain people's music I can't even listen to because of the fact of the way that their spiritual space, when I listen to their music, puts me in the wrong headspace. I remember one time I was listening to somebody's music, lie to you not. I was listening to the album and I felt like I was drunk the whole time. I was like, why do I feel like I'm drunk listening to this? Because possibly they were when they recorded it. Person in the wrong heart posture singing something that is inappropriate, I can tell. My entire spirit be like, I can't even listen to this. So going to a concert is like, please, I don't want to torture myself. I really don't. So, what next? My note went down. So they don't want to know and go where you go. So he ended up taking her to a bar and they were sitting there having conversations and ha ha he he. And she said, so why did you stop protecting people? He said, he was like, I had a situation occur. She's like, what? You didn't lose nobody, did you? And then he got real quiet and he was like, you didn't lose nobody, did you? And he was like, it wasn't a situation like that. Some of your God-ordained spouses are afraid that getting with you is potentially going to mess them up. As it is, they don't have to separate from a lot of stuff that ain't of God that they are associated with. And especially if your person has some type of status, which if this is kingdom marriage, I'm talking about kingdom, 9 times out of 10 they got some type of status of some sort. They're known in the gates. Everybody sits up there and talks about, ooh, I want a Xerxes, I want a this. You know, Xerxes was a king. And y'all sitting up there trying to pray over. Can we talk about this for a second, Lord Jesus? Y'all sitting up there trying to pray over busters. Let me just be honest. You're trying to pray over busters. They're out here. Little Jerome, little Johnny, talking about, oh, I'm going to pray the Esther prayer, Esther. He going to turn into the... That man was never going to turn into no Esther, man. God trying to upgrade you. And you sitting up there praying over little Johnny. Now, yes, little Johnny can get his life together. And get himself in order. But you know little John, you know who I'm talking about, little Johnny. He ain't never changed his entire life. He's still out there doing the same foolishness he's been doing before. And you still sitting up there trying to pray over him. Oh, I want him to be my kingdom. May the Lord rebuke you. And for my people that are preparing for reconciliation with somebody, 9 times out of 10, they already showed you. God done already showed you what direction this man is about to go in the name of Jesus. Who he is, what direction he's going in, what he's representative of, and what he needs. You understand what I'm saying? So the Lord has already showed you where this man is headed in his life. And he's going to be not where he is right now. The Lord is going to show you a transformation in that man. And he's probably already shown you which direction he's taking that man. Good movie reference outside of this one is the movie with Adrian Bailon called I Fell in Love with a Church Girl. Some of these men had to change themselves to get to where God wanted them to be. And it was always back to him. Always into ministry direction. Even if it's in the career field that they're in, it's still going to be a level of ministry. And some of them were running just from that alone. So, yeah. But you have the ability to protect. And some of you have been feeling guilty because in your previous relationship, this is why y'all so attached and keep trying to go back to little JoJo, little Johnny, little whatever his name was, because you felt like you didn't protect them. It's like, well, now I know this, why can't I do this for them? Because they weren't the one. Sorry. They wasn't the one you were supposed to be protecting. It's this one. Because you got enough anointing to protect this one. Little Johnny ain't going nowhere. Little Johnny's still where he left him at 5-10 years ago. Leave it alone. Step away. Now, if God told you little Johnny is going to change his ways, you gotta separate from him temporarily while God does the work on him and then does the work on you. In order to prepare you and to prepare them to become what it is that they need to become. Some of them, they're going to think that they need to become it before. No. They may not need to become. They just need to get in the right order so that they'll be in the right direction to be going there. And that's why some of y'all, for the reconnection that you're setting up to be in, that's what it's set up to be. So, coming back, they get up and they dance together. You and your God-ordained spouse have been in a spiritual dance with one another. God has been leading you, and God has been leading them. For what God has put together, let no man put asunder. But it's been a spiritual dance. you've been fighting in the spirit and they've been fighting in the spirit. This is why I always use Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a reference, because of the fact that when it came to her and the guy that she was with, they had a way that they gelled that nobody she fought with ever worked like that. It was a fluidity, a way in the way that they danced together, which spread from the way that they fought together to their intimate life together to the way that they dealt with others together, where they danced. They had an actual dance amongst them. Rhythmic rotation. I saw a video a couple years back by it was Tamara Mowry, and she was talking about the fluidity of the way that two people function when they're in a healthy relationship. It's a short. And she was talking about that flow between man and woman and all of this kind of stuff. You have to realize that you and your spouse have a flow with one another, and it's a dance, and you know what position you need to be in. They just need to realize that they needed to take their space. Same position when it came down to you. Oh Lord, am I going to end up having to do dirty dancing too? I don't know. We'll see what comes up. If the Lord has me do dirty, you know what's coming. I'll probably end up being our next movie. So, what else? It was the song that they were dancing to was "I Will Always Love You." Okay, it was a country version of the Dolly Parton, and it was some guy singing it. I don't know whether he was singing it at the location they were at or they were just listening to it on the radio. But somebody dropped a plate, and that caused her and him to jump. Some of y'all have been dealing with anxiety and false evidence that appears real, that y'all are jumpy. It's just you jumpy because you ready to fight every 5 minutes, and they jumpy because they've been in anxiety every 5 minutes. So both of y'all will jump at a noise. You ready to fight, he ready to run. Calm it down. Everything's all right. All right? Breathe. Let the Lord minister to y'all. You got to calm that down. Pray to the Lord. Allow him to break that off of y'all. Okay? For us, we've been in boot camp with Jesus, so God's actually trying to get us to relax, because you ain't gonna have to fight as hard in the coming season when you get with your spouse. Same for them. That the anxiety that they've been had in previous seasons, and they ain't gonna have to deal with that. You ain't gonna have to deal with that. He's not gonna be there. Okay, you can calm it down. Okay, it's not necessary for you to be like, calm down, relax. You're about to walk into a blessing. It's going to actually be a blessing. It's not going to be turmoil. It's not going to be confusion. The only turmoil and confusion is the enemy within you that wants to bring it in there. Okay? You bring the confusion and turmoil in. This is why it's taking so long for you to get to each other, because of the fact that the enemy is literally saying, if I can make them bring their own turmoil into the situation, I win. Don't let that happen. Apostle Richard E. Youngblood did a teaching called The Enemy Within. Go look it up. It'll bless you. Talking about your internal enemy that will keep you out of your blessing. Another minister, I was literally just listening to this in between cuts of video because I have to wait for uploads. The woman was talking about the things that will block you. Number 1, disobedience. Number 2, lying. Number 3, what was it? Sin. Look in the Bible at the 9 things that God hates most and calls them sin as unto death and or murder. Look them up. It will shock you. Some of it you might actually think is worthy of death. God's like, You know, gossip is worthy of death because you are destroying somebody's character with your mouth. What was the next thing? So they end up going back to his place. Now, I did a word where I did a song review on, what's his name? London Ocean's song. Back to Your Place, I think is the name of it. I did a review on that. But you can't find it because that's for special set of people. There's only one place that it's located. And I need you to pray before you go where that video is. It's in the community post. But you gotta find it. Not that far in. Wasn't that long ago I posted it. It's in a community post. Okay. And it's the one that says warning. Okay. Now, with that being said, let the Lord lead. Next, she went back to his place. They're in the basement. Some of you, because of where you're starting out with your God-ordained spouse, and God's giving me this, you're going to start at the basement level with your spouse. You got to build up your relationship. And some of you are starting at the basement level with your spouse, even at married. Got you hungry now? I'm going to take this momentary moment, since we almost to the end of this, and say this. There are 2 forms of thought that are operating in the kingdom marriage community. There is one form of thought that lines up a whole bunch of words that line up to things that look pretty. It looks godly, but if you read between the lines, it may not be God in any of it. Why? People are telling people that they should, your husband ain't coming yet? Well, you can marry somebody else and wait until it's time for him to come, and then he'll come and sweep you off your feet, and you can separate from that situation. A covenant is a covenant. God is going to honor covenant no matter what covenant that you make. Which means if you do the stupid thing, marry a counterfeit if you want to. Do it. The devil wins. Number 2, having sex before marriage. Devil is trying desperately to catch y'all on this stupidity right here. Having sex before marriage. No. You didn't sit up here and go through all of this for this kingdom marriage, and now you won't have sex before marriage. 3, now you and your God-ordained spouses together, I'm going to need you to consummate the marriage without getting a marriage license. Well, God's rule, God didn't have law. You remember in the word where Jesus says, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, give to man what belongs to man? How many times throughout the word did you see where God used the law to get the people what they deserved? But if you're outside of the ramifications of law, God can't help you, because he can turn your enemies into your footstools, and he can also turn laws to your benefit. But if you outside of the law, including his, it ain't going to protect nor help you. Am I making sense to somebody? So You consummating your marriage outside. Now, I'm going to need you to question and make sure that that was God who told you that. Did God tell you that? Did God tell you that? That's all I'm going to say. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to God what belongs to God. Don't get this close to your marriage and start acting a daggone fool. Because you won't come in agreement with something that don't belong to you. Okay? Same thing with these people talking about their masturbating to their... Oh, are you kidding me? What are we out here doing? You're going to come into agreement with a lust spirit because you can't wait until your God-ordained spouse comes? What the heck is wrong with you? You know that's going to actually hold you in delay because you're operating in disobedience and sin. It's packaged very pretty to make it look like, but it's still operating in disobedience and sin. Okay? Sin is sin. Sin is sin. There are people out here literally saying, well, I'm going to teach you how to break your celibacy. Out here saying, go date other people while he's not. No. That's sin is a sin is a sin. Delay yourself if you want to. And then you won't sit up there and be crying, talking about, oh, where's my God-ordained husband? Where's my kingdom spouse? You out here coming into agreement with things that were not of God in the first place. So I'm going to need for you to go sit with God. If you came into agreement with any of those forms of things, hey, maybe God is telling you, but I bet you need to sit before the Lord, do a consecration, and ask God for certain. Jesus, is this you? Was that you when I came into agreement with that word? That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. That was the end of my spiel. And that's the end of this video. We're going to come back for the next part. All right.